The massive crystal chamber stretched wider than most cities, its walls pulsing with soft blue light that helped translate the words of nearly 1,000 different alien species. Ambassador Jiho Park stood completely alone in the center of the enormous room, his black diplomatic uniform looking tiny against a sea of strange creatures surrounding him. Above him, floating in energy bubbles, sat the representatives of 847 worlds. Some looked like giant insects with too many eyes. Others were made of living metal that shifted and changed shape. A few were just clouds of glowing gas that somehow managed to speak. All of them were staring down at the single human with expressions that ranged from fear to disgust to cold hatred. Jiho kept his face calm and his hands steady behind his back, even though he knew this moment would change everything for his species. He had known this day was coming for years. Every human diplomat had known it. They had all been preparing. The Trilaxian speaker, a creature that looked like a walking tree made of purple crystal, raised one of its many arms. Its voice boomed through a translation system, reaching every corner of the vast space. "We are here today to address the human problem," it announced. "For 50 years, this species has caused nothing but trouble in our peaceful galaxy. They expand too fast. They fight too much. They cannot be controlled or predicted." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber like a wave. Gio listened without changing his expression, but inside he felt a familiar anger. Everything they said was technically true, but they never bothered to understand why humans acted the way they did. "The evidence is clear," continued another voice, this one belonging to a Zenthri delegate that resembled a floating jellyfish covered in lights. "Humans have established colonies in restricted zones. They have developed weapons without permission. They have refused to follow proper expansion protocols." More agreements echoed around the chamber. A creature that looked like a walking pile of rocks spoke next. "They are too violent, too unpredictable. They make other species uncomfortable with their strange behavior patterns." Gio almost smiled at that one. Humans made them uncomfortable because humans refused to stay in neat, predictable boxes. They solved problems in ways that alien minds found disturbing. They took risks that seemed insane to species that had spent thousands of years playing it safe. The formal charges took nearly an hour to read completely. Excessive aggression during first contact situations, unauthorized military development, rapid territorial expansion without proper environmental impact studies, refusal to submit to psychological evaluation protocols. The list went on and on. Finally, the moment Jiho had been waiting for arrived. The Trilaxian speaker called for the vote that would decide humanity's fate, all in favor of complete exile of species designation human, and their homeworld Earth beyond the galactic rim. Arms, tentacles, energy fields, and stranger appendages rose throughout the chamber. The counting process was automated, but Jiho could see the result with his own eyes. Every single representative voted yes. 847 votes for exile, 0 votes against. The chamber erupted in satisfied sounds. Chittering, growling, electronic beeping, and stranger noises that had no human equivalent. They were celebrating the removal of what they saw as a dangerous threat to their orderly galaxy. Jiho waited for the noise to die down before he moved. Then, very calmly, he raised his left arm and activated the communicator built into his uniform sleeve. The device projected his words directly to a secure channel that reached across hundreds of light years to Earth in mere seconds. "Terra Command, this is Ambassador Park. Execute Protocol Exodus immediately. Authorization Alpha 77. The celebration sound stopped abruptly. The entire chamber fell silent as 847 different species tried to process what they had just heard. This was not the response they expected. Humans were supposed to beg. They were supposed to argue and plead for another chance. They were supposed to act like every other species that had been threatened with exile over the centuries. Instead, Jiho simply nodded once to the assembled aliens and spoke in a clear, steady voice. "We will be gone within 48 hours. Thank you for making this decision easy for us." He turned and began walking toward the chamber's exit, his footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Behind him, he could hear confused whispers and urgent discussions breaking out among the delegates. The The Zen 3 representative who had spoken earlier managed to find its voice first. "You seem remarkably calm for someone whose species has just been banished from civilized space." Jiho paused at the threshold of the exit and turned back one last time. For the first time since entering the chamber, he allowed himself to smile. "We have been ready for this day for 23 years, he said simply. Then he walked out, leaving behind a chamber full of alien representatives who were just beginning to realize they might have made a terrible mistake. They had expected to diminish humanity by forcing them into exile. They had no idea they were about to unleash something far more dangerous than anything they'd feared before. 23 years earlier, Dr. Minho Lee stood in a small underground room beneath the city of Seoul, staring at numbers that made his stomach feel sick. The holographic display showed charts and graphs that painted a very clear picture of humanity's future in the galaxy, and that future looked dark. "Show me the threat assessment again," he said to his assistant, a young woman named Soo-Jin Kim who had just graduated from the academy with top marks in xenopolitics. The display changed to show a map of known space. Red zones marked areas where alien species had expressed concern about human expansion. Yellow zones showed places where humans were barely tolerated. Green zones, which should have been safe areas, were shrinking every month. "The pattern is obvious," Soo-Jin said, pointing at the data. "Every major alien species is becoming more afraid of us each year. They think we expand too fast and fight too much." Minho rubbed his tired eyes. He had been studying this problem for 5 years now, ever since his government had asked him to predict how other species would react to human growth. The answer was always the same, no matter how he ran the numbers. "What is our timeline?" he asked. 15 years minimum before they coordinate a real response. Maybe 20 if we are lucky, and they keep arguing among themselves. Minho walked to the window that looked out over the busy Seoul streets. Millions of people lived their normal lives up there, completely unaware that their species was slowly being surrounded by enemies who grew more nervous every day. "Then we prepare for the worst and hope we never need to use it," he decided. He turned back to Soo-Jin and activated a secure communication device. "Initialize Project Diaspora. Full authorization code 7 Alpha 9. Across human space." Things began to change in ways that seemed normal on the surface, but hid a much deeper purpose. Colony ships that officially failed to find suitable worlds actually established hidden supply stations in asteroid fields and empty star systems. Research vessels that reported disappointing results were actually mapping secret routes through dangerous space that only human pilots could navigate. Captain Dong-hyun Choi received his orders while his mining ship was working in a belt of floating rocks near the edge of human territory. To anyone watching, including alien observers, his operation looked like a typical commercial venture that was not finding much valuable ore. "Sir, the real construction is proceeding on schedule," his chief engineer reported during a private meeting in the ship's shielded conference room. "The automated systems are building exactly what the plans specify." Dong-hyun nodded and looked at the secret display that showed the true purpose of their operation. Hidden inside the asteroid field, robotic systems were constructing something that did not exist on any official records. Ships. Lots of ships. Big ones designed to carry entire populations across impossible distances. "How many more sites like this are active?" he asked. 47 that I know of, sir. Probably more that are kept secret even from us." Similar operations were happening throughout human space. Dr. Un Seo-yoon worked in a research station that officially studied solar radiation patterns. In reality, she was developing technology that could shut down alien computer systems from thousands of light years away. "The integration is proceeding perfectly," she reported during her weekly encrypted transmission to Earth. "Every system we have sold or given to alien governments now has our hidden programming buried deep in its core. When the time comes, we can disable their entire technological infrastructure with a single command." The aliens thought they were becoming more advanced by using human technology. They had no idea that every computer, every power generator, every medical device, and every communication system they had bought from humans contained hidden instructions that could be activated remotely. Engineer Won-Shik Han supervised the construction of what appeared to be a failed experimental facility in an empty star system. The official reports claimed that the project had been abandoned due to technical difficulties and cost overruns. The real facility is now 90% complete, he told his secret supervisors. When activated, it can support a population of 50,000 people indefinitely. Food production, water recycling, power generation, everything needed for a completely independent colony. All across the galaxy, similar hidden bases were being prepared. What looked like failed human projects were actually supply depots, shipyards, research stations, and colony sites that could support millions of people in regions of space that alien species could not even reach. Dr. Yunjae Bei worked in a government office that seemed to do boring administrative work. Her official job was processing trade agreements and colony permits. Her real job was much more important. The psychological profiles are complete, she reported during a meeting that officially never happened. We now understand exactly how each major alien species thinks and makes decisions. When they finally move against us, we will know what they plan to do before they do it. The humans were learning their enemies while those enemies thought they were just dealing with troublesome neighbors. Every trade negotiation, every diplomatic meeting, and every cultural exchange was actually an intelligence-gathering operation. By the time Ambassador Jiho Park stood in that great crystal chamber to hear humanity's fate, the preparation was complete. The aliens thought they were voting to exile a dangerous but limited species. They had no idea they were about to discover what humans could really accomplish when they stopped trying to be polite. Admiral Hai Jin Yong stood on the bridge of her command ship, watching the largest display screen she had ever seen. The screen showed 47 different star systems where humans lived, and in every single one of them, something amazing was happening. Entire worlds were emptying out in perfect coordination, like a dance that had been practiced for decades. Status report from Colony 7, announced Commander Jae-sung Ryu from his station. All 2 million civilians are aboard transport vessels. Industrial facilities are being dismantled on schedule. They will be completely gone in 18 hours. Hygiene nodded and looked at the next system on her list. What about New Shanghai? Evacuation 70% complete. The manufacturing plants are already stripped clean. Even the alien observers are confused about how we are moving so much equipment so quickly. The truth was that humans had been practicing this exact operation for over 20 years. Every human colony had secret plans for complete evacuation. Every important piece of technology had been designed to be quickly removed and transported. Every building had been constructed with quick dismantling in mind. But what the alien fleets watching from a safe distance could not understand was that this was not just people running away. This was surgery. Precise, careful removal of every piece of human innovation that had become part of galactic civilization. Engineer Un Seo-yoon sat in a control room on Earth, surrounded by screens showing computer systems across hundreds of alien worlds. Her job was to make sure that when humans left, they took all of their technology with them. Beginning Phase 2 of the withdrawal protocol, she announced to her team, activating shutdown sequences for all human-designed systems in alien infrastructure. Her fingers moved across control panels that most people did not even know existed. With each command she entered, crucial systems on alien worlds began to fail. Power plants that had run perfectly for decades suddenly showed efficiency drops. Computer networks that had processed information smoothly for years started experiencing mysterious errors. The aliens had spent 50 years integrating human technology into their civilizations. They had never realized how much they depended on human-designed components until those components began to disappear. On the planet Kepler 442b, Dr. So-young Park oversaw the removal of a medical facility that had served 3 different alien species for 30 years. The aliens had always thought it was their facility, with their doctors and their equipment. They never knew that the most important medical innovations came from human research. All the quantum diagnostic machines are loaded, reported her assistant. The biosynthesis laboratories are packaged and ready for transport. What about the treatment protocols? So-young asked. All data has been wiped from their systems. The alien doctors will have to figure out how to treat the Zen-3 blood disease without our research. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human doctors quietly removed medical knowledge that had saved millions of alien lives. Human engineers took back navigation systems that had made dangerous space routes safe to travel. Human scientists withdrew research that had solved food production problems on dozens of worlds. Captain Min Seo Choi commanded one of the massive transport fleets that was carrying entire human populations to new homes beyond the galactic rim. His ships were loaded with not just people, but with every machine, every computer, every piece of advanced equipment that humans had built. Long-range sensors show alien military vessels following us, reported his navigation officer. They are maintaining distance, but clearly monitoring our departure. "Let them watch," Minasio replied. "They voted to see us leave. Now they get to watch exactly what that means." What the alien observers saw amazed and worried them. The human evacuation was not chaotic or panicked. It was organized better than most military operations they had ever witnessed. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation, following routes that seemed to lead into empty space where no civilization could possibly survive. But the humans knew something the aliens did not. Beyond the edge of known space, there were resources and opportunities that alien species had never bothered to explore. There were star systems with perfect planets that aliens had dismissed as unreachable. There were energy sources and materials that alien science had declared impossible to use. Dr. Hyun-Woo Shin monitored the cascading failures beginning to appear in alien computer networks across the galaxy. Their quantum processing systems are becoming unstable without our maintenance protocols, he reported. Communication networks are showing 40% efficiency loss. How long before they realize the full extent of their dependency? Asked Admiral Yang. 6 months, maybe less. We designed our technology to integrate so smoothly that they forgot it was not originally theirs. The exodus was not just humans leaving. It was humans taking with them every innovation, every solution, every improvement they had quietly provided to galactic civilization over 5 decades. The aliens had wanted to remove a dangerous species from their space. Instead, they were about to discover that they had been utterly dependent on that species for their technological advancement. As the last human transport disappeared beyond the galactic rim, the alien observers began to understand that they had not witnessed a defeat. They had watched the most successful strategic withdrawal in galactic history, and their own civilizations were about to pay the price for their fear. 8 months after the last human ship disappeared beyond the galactic rim, Counselor Vex Talon of the Hegemony sat in his private office staring at reports that made no sense. His 3 eyes scanned the same numbers over and over, but the reality was too disturbing to accept easily. "Sir, the situation is getting worse every day," his aide reported nervously. 7 more core worlds have lost primary power this week. The medical crisis in Sector 9 is spreading to nearby systems. Vex Talon's scaled hands trembled as he activated the holographic display, showing the current state of hegemony space. Red warning symbols covered nearly half the map, indicating critical system failures, medical emergencies, and infrastructure breakdowns. "How is this possible?" he muttered. "We are one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. We have technology that is thousands of years old." What Vex Talon did not understand was that thousands of years of advanced technology meant nothing when crucial components started failing. The hegemony's power systems have been upgraded with human-designed efficiency cores 20 years ago. Their medical facilities relied on human diagnostic algorithms that no hegemony scientist truly understood. Their communication networks used human quantum processors that were far beyond anything hegemony could build themselves. On the other side of the galaxy, Chief Science Officer Dalmore of the Zen3 Collective was having similar problems. The floating jellyfish-like creature hovered over banks of computers that were displaying error messages in languages his species had never seen before. "The artificial intelligence network is becoming unstable," reported one of his technicians. "We are losing processing power at a rate of 12% per week. Can we not simply repair the damaged components?" Dalmore asked. "That is the problem, sir. We are not sure which components are damaged. The systems were designed by humans using principles that our minds cannot easily follow. What we thought was random human engineering was actually incredibly complex multidimensional planning." Dalmore stared at the failing systems with growing horror. The Zen3 Collective had always prided themselves on their logical, orderly approach to technology. Human engineering had seemed chaotic and unpredictable to them. Now they were learning that human chaos was actually a type of order that was far more sophisticated than anything the Zenthri had ever imagined. Meanwhile, far beyond the galactic rim, Dr. One-Shik-Han stood on the observation deck of New Horizon Station and watched something that would have been impossible in Council space. Through the transparent walls, he could see 3 different construction projects happening simultaneously on nearby planets. Colony status report, he requested from his assistant. 15 new worlds are now fully operational, sir. Terraforming is proceeding at 3 times the rate we achieved under Council regulations. We have made successful contact with 2 ancient civilizations that predate the Galactic Council by several thousand years. One-Shik smiled as he watched robotic systems transforming a barren planet into something that could support human life. Without alien bureaucracy limiting their methods, humans were accomplishing in months what had previously taken years. "What about our new allies?" he asked. "The ancients are very interested in our technology, sir. They say our approach to problem-solving reminds them of their own species from before they became peaceful. The ancients were civilizations so old that they had been exploring space when the current Galactic Council species were still learning to make fire. They had withdrawn from galactic affairs long ago, finding the younger species too rigid and predictable. But humans, with their chaotic creativity and refusal to accept limitations, had caught their attention immediately. Captain So-Young Park transmitted her daily report from the exploration ship that was mapping new trade routes in previously unreachable space. Long-range sensors have identified 47 star systems with habitable worlds. All of them are in regions that Council species declared impossible to reach. The impossible regions were not actually impossible. They were just dangerous and required the kind of flexible thinking that most alien species found uncomfortable. Human pilots, trained to handle unpredictable situations, could navigate through gravity storms and energy fields that would destroy ships designed by more cautious civilizations. Back in Council space, the failures were accelerating. The Trilaxian trade networks had collapsed when their navigation computers could no longer calculate safe routes through dangerous space regions. The Kentari medical system was overwhelmed by the return of diseases that had been eliminated by human pharmaceuticals. The Valdoria manufacturing centers had shut down when their automated systems could not function without human design control algorithms. Admiral Hyun-Woo Shin reviewed reports from intelligence agents who still had contacts in Council space. "The situation is worse than we predicted," he told the Terran Council. "Their dependency on our technology was even deeper than we realized. They are facing complete societal collapse in some regions. Should we offer assistance?" asked one council member. "They voted unanimously to exile us," Admiral Shin replied calmly. "They wanted to see what their galaxy would look like without humans in it. Now they are getting exactly what they asked for." From his flagship beyond the rim, he composed a simple message and transmitted it back toward the failing Council worlds. "Thank you for the freedom to become what we were always meant to be." 2 years after humanity's exile, the Great Crystal Chamber of Nexus Prime hosted emergency sessions almost every week. The same room where 847 species had voted unanimously to banish humans now echoed with desperate arguments as member civilizations abandoned the Galactic Council one after another. Ambassador Kyung-Ho Nam received the alien delegation at Frontier Station, the newest human outpost at the edge of what was once called civilized space. The station was massive, built from materials that Council scientists had declared impossible to use, and powered by energy sources they had insisted were too dangerous to harness. The delegation consisted of the same alien representatives who had voted for humanity's exile 2 years earlier. The Trilaxian speaker, its purple crystal body now showing stress fractures, approached with what humans had learned to recognize as desperate humility. "Ambassador Nam," the creature began, its voice lacking the confident authority it had possessed during the exile vote. "We come seeking an arrangement. Perhaps some form of limited cooperation could be established." Kyung-Ho studied the assembled aliens with the same calm expression that his predecessor Jiho Park had shown in that crystal chamber. Behind him, holographic displays showed the reality of what humanity had built in just 2 years of freedom. 57 thriving worlds stretched across space that Council species had written off as uninhabitable. Cities built on planets where alien scientists said life was impossible. Trade routes through regions of space where council ships fear to travel. Industrial facilities that produce more in a month than entire council worlds managed in a year. You voted to exile us because you deemed us too dangerous for civilized space, Kyung-ho said politely. We honor that vote completely. The Zen-3 representative, its light patterns flickering with what humans now knew indicated extreme stress, floated closer. Perhaps the vote was hasty. New information suggests that human contributions to galactic civilization were more significant than initially calculated. Director Yun-Jae Bei stepped forward from the human delegation, her tablet showing data that made the aliens shift uncomfortably. Let me share some of that new information with you. In the 2 years since our exile, 43 council worlds have experienced complete medical system collapse. 67 planets have lost primary power generation. The Kentari trade network has shrunk by 80%. Should I continue? The alien delegates looked at each other with expressions that needed no translation. They were facing the collapse of everything they had built over thousands of years, and they finally understood why. We may have underestimated the extent of human integration into our systems, admitted the rock-like Valdorian representative, its voice sounding like grinding stone. Surely some accommodation can be reached. We are willing to discuss terms. Behind the human delegation, display screens showed images from the new human territories that would have seemed like science fiction to the council species. Humans working alongside the ancients, civilizations so old that they have been exploring galaxies when the council's founders were still learning to use tools. Energy extraction from the cores of dying stars. Terraforming projects that transformed entire solar systems in months rather than centuries. The humans you exiled no longer exist. Yun-Jae explained calmly that humanity spent 50 years trying to fit into your galaxy, moderating our nature to make you comfortable, following your rules and limitations. This humanity has no such restrictions. Captain Min Seo Choi entered the meeting room, carrying a datapad that contained information the aliens had never been allowed to see. Would you like to know what we have accomplished without your oversight? He asked. The holographic display changed to show human space as it existed now. The aliens stared in growing horror at star maps showing human territory that had expanded to 3 times its original size. Industrial output that exceeded the entire Galactic Council. Military capabilities that had grown beyond anything they had imagined possible. You were afraid of human potential when we were holding ourselves back. Min Seo continued. You thought we were dangerous when we were being careful not to frighten you. Now you can see what we are capable of when we stop pretending to be less than we are. The Trilaxian speaker's stress fractures deepened as it processed the implications. Surely you must see that cooperation benefits everyone. The galaxy needs stability. Your galaxy needed stability. Kyung-ho corrected. The galaxy we are building has different priorities. Dr. So-Young Park activated another display showing human colonies established in regions the Council had never even explored. We have made contact with 17 civilizations that your species never knew existed. Some of them are older than your entire recorded history. Others are younger but far more innovative than anything in Council space. All of them find human flexibility and creativity much more interesting than Council rigidity. The alien delegation was beginning to understand the true scope of their miscalculation. They had not simply exiled a troublesome species. They had freed their greatest potential competitors and turned them into something far more powerful than anything that had existed in their galaxy before. As the meeting ended with the aliens departing empty-handed, Kyung-ho transmitted a final message that will be remembered in Council space for generations. You taught us that we did not belong in your version of civilization. Thank you for that lesson. We have built something much better. The galaxy that had feared human potential was about to discover what unleashed humanity could accomplish.